Hi everyone and welcome back to Tennis Time. As promised yesterday, I'm coming back with another preview video of the other French Open semi-final. The French Open semi-final that most tennis fans probably have dreamt of. Nadal Djokovic, the world number one, former French Open champion, one-time French Open champion, is going to play the 13-time French Open champion in Rafa Nadal. So it's going to be a cracking semi-final. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to look forward to. So let's have a look. As I said yesterday, or I've shown yesterday, we have at the bottom half of the draw Zverev playing Tsitsipas in one of the semis, and now we have the conclusion of the other semi. Nadal has beaten Schwartzman yesterday in 4 sets, and Djokovic has done the same in 4 sets again against Matteo Berrettini. What I'm going to do today is show you what I've shown you yesterday as well. It's a funny little thing. In fact, the last 4 French Open semi-finals, with the exception of 2018, all the other years had a 5-set match and a 3-set match. And I was saying that I think these lineups are so good and so exciting that we might get 2 5-setters on this Friday. So I'm really hoping for tight cost contests, big quality matches. So the next thing, just as yesterday, I'm going to go through Djokovic's route, and then I'm going to look at Nadal's route to the semi-finals, and then I'm going to talk about the rivalry of Nadal and Djokovic in general. I've made and prepared a lot of statistics here, which I think are quite interesting, and it's worth having a look. And I think that will give me the basis to formulate my prediction who I think is going to win this year's French Open semi-final between Nadal and Djokovic. Right, so let's start with Djokovic first. Convincing victories he has, with the exception of maybe Lorenzo Musetti, because he lost the first 2 tiebreaks there, but at the same time, the way the match continued, he wasn't really in danger ever of losing that 3rd set and going out. But if we start at the beginning with the first round, he's played Sandgren. That was the first night match he's played at the French Open. And in Tennis Sandgren, he had a very tough first round opponent. Sandgren is a guy who can hit the ball really hard. He was super motivated to keep it to make it tight. And he's played well. So Djokovic is playing really supreme to get that 6-2, 6-4, 6-2 victory. It looks very confident, and he was very confident, but it wasn't necessarily that comfortable as the scoreline may show. With Cuevas, it's maybe a little bit of a similar story. Cuevas is a great shot maker, very experienced player on clay. So the 6-3, 6-2, 6-4 talks more about Djokovic's confidence and the way he's played. Very, very supreme and sovereign in his first 2 rounds. I think the 3rd round was the match where I felt that there is absolutely no chance that Berankis is going to get a set off of Djokovic. So even though there were a few spectacular points and games, Berankis really had no chance. So really strong start in the first 3 rounds. Only 1 match went just above 2 hours, 2 hours and 6 minutes, and that was the match against Cuevas. So things changed a little bit in round 4 when he was playing Musetti. Musetti, young up-and-coming Italian player. I've talked about him in my previous videos. I think he's a very promising guy, a very promising prospect. It was a little bit surprising that he managed to win 2 tiebreaks, straight tiebreaks against Djokovic. So the first one was very close, 9 points to 7. The second one, 7 games to 2. So here something clicked because Djokovic knew he had to play well. He had to shift in 3rd, 4th, 5th, maybe 6th gear as well. And toward the fourth set, you could see that Musetti wasn't really up there from an energy level and physically. 19-year-old, he was just worn down, and he couldn't really continue the rhythm. He even said at the press conference after the match, Musetti did, that he didn't really feel he was injured. He just couldn't win a point anymore, and he had some lower back pain and some cramps. I'm not sure if that was really a good reason for him to retire. People think it was strange. I think it was maybe a little bit strange as well, but we will see how Musetti continues in his career from now on. The last night's match, the quarterfinal match, which Djokovic has played against Berrettini, that was worth talking about, and it was a spectacular match for sure, for many reasons. First, this was the first match which they started an hour early, so they didn't start at 9 o'clock local time in the evening. They started at 8, with the hopes of being able to finish up until 11, because the curfew in France was prolonged up until 11 o'clock, so people could be in the stadium during the night match. And that has generated some fantastic atmosphere. And I thought that the fate of the first two sets was decided in the first 5 games of the match, where Djokovic took charge and he went up 4-1. It was just one break. All the games were tightly contested. I think Berrettini played as well as he can. And Djokovic was so smart, being at the right places all the time, playing the right shots, making Berrettini unsure of himself. And the way he's worn Berrettini down in those first 5 games, I think that set the tone for that set and for the next one as well. Berrettini couldn't really recover, and he wasn't playing as well as he was in the first five games of that first set. In the third set, something changed. It's a classic sign: somebody goes 2 sets to love up. If you're 2 sets to love up, you shouldn't really be that worried anymore, because losing from 2 sets to love down is very rare, and for the other player to come back, it's a monumental effort. But at the same time, in the third set, the underdog, who was Berrettini at this point, felt that, okay, I have nothing to lose. I have to go for my shots, just as I've done that at the beginning of the match. And he succeeded. What was the most crucial thing for him? He didn't lose serve. He couldn't break, but he didn't lose serve. And when they went to the tiebreak, he was lucky that he got that tiebreak and he got that win. But it was good enough. He was playing really well. He made a few crucial errors in that tiebreak, but the fact of the matter is that Djokovic has done even more crucial errors in that tiebreak. So the story continued with losing tiebreaks from the previous match, what he's played against Musetti. That was quite interesting. And Djokovic, you could see he was so frustrated. I think he really wanted to put this match to bed at the end of the third set. He wants to be fresh when he's going to play Nadal. He's played him so many times, especially at the French Open, and he doesn't have a particularly good record against Nadal at the French Open, but then again, who does? So the fourth set was controversial. Or maybe controversial is not the right word, but it was a little bit uncomfortable for the players. I think they had to go off court because 11 o'clock at night has come. People were not really keen on leaving a match like this, so the players had to go off for a little bit, for about 15 to 20 minutes, up until everybody had time to clear the stadium. So that was quite unfortunate. When they resumed, Berrettini was serving. He still managed to do what he's done in the third set. He was still winning those service games quite well. Unfortunately for Berrettini, when he was 5-6 down, he got an old serve and Djokovic was broken. And you could see in Djokovic that he wanted to make that break so much. He was already fed up with having to spend more time on court, having to play a full set. he wanted to get off earlier, and as I said, he wanted to be fresh against Nadal, and he's put a lot of effort into that fourth set to win it. And you could see his frustration come out with that incredible scream he let out. He actually let two screams out. The first one was when he had match point for the first time on Berrettini's serve, and Berrettini played an incredibly good point. Djokovic hung in there. He was defending incredibly well, but he still lost the point. And then he got mad, and then he started to scream like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful for it or anything, but he screamed like a crazy person toward his camp. And then he composed himself. I think he was mad that he couldn't win that point because he wanted it so badly. And then when he finally won the next 2 points, after that he let out a scream like no other. I don't think I've ever seen somebody act like that after a match on a tennis court, screaming like that. I've seen many tennis matches in my life, but I've not seen that ever before. And I don't know, it left me with a bad taste at the end. I know it's not actually relevant, or it's not that important. I mean, we had a fantastic tennis match. It was really enjoyable to watch, especially the third and fourth sets. They were really great. The beginning of the first was also great. But as a spectator and somebody who just likes tennis and likes to watch tennis, I don't necessarily want players act out after a frustrating match or frustrating moments like that. It's not a good example for anybody as a maybe young person to watch, and you don't want people behave like that and scream like that ever. Okay, having said that, overall I think Djokovic had a really good route throughout his first 5 matches. He spent in total in these 5 matches 12 hours and 29 minutes on court. If we spread this out overall on 5 matches, I think it's not that much in best of 5 sets. On the other hand, his last 2 matches, just the last 2 before he has to play Nadal, were a little bit longer. So against Musetti it was 3 hours and 27, against Berrettini it was 3 hours and 28, although something like 20 minutes out of those were in the 4th set where they just walked off court and they had a little bit of time to regroup. But nonetheless, I think he's strong enough to recover, and I'm not really sure if this last match is going to affect him in the final. I think when he played last year the semis against Tsitsipas, he had a 2 sets to love lead. He let it slip. Tsitsipas came back and won the next 2. I think that has hurt him, even though he won the 5th set. Maybe he wasn't 100% in that final against Nadal. I'm not trying to take anything away from Nadal. I'm just saying that when you go into a big match like that, especially when you have to play Nadal at the French Open, you want to be fresh. Okay, having said that, let's move on to Nadal's route to the semi-finals. So Nadal had a very good week. He lost just 1 set, although this was the first, I think he won 37 straight sets at the French Open, because the last time he's lost a set was against Dominic Thiem in the final, and that was the 2nd set in 2019. And after that he won the next 2, and last year he did not drop a single set when he won the tournament, and now he won his first 4 rounds without dropping a set, and now he's lost the 2nd against Schwartzman, so that was a big thing. But I'm going to talk more in depth about the match against Schwartzman, but first let's start with the first rounds against Popyrin. Good first 2 sets. KG, 3rd set, he was set points down. He's done well to recover. Actually, Popyrin helped him because he shanked a few points, a few shots, which he should have made, and that let Nadal into the match. The second round against Gasquet, he started off really strong, 6-love, and in the next set he was 5-2 up. Then he lost his lead. Gasquet came all the way back to 5-all, but then Nadal actually I think he stepped on the gas again and managed to get those next two games with a break, and has taken the second set. The 6-2 third set was relatively convincing again. Against Norrie, Norrie was a tough opposition. He made every single set tough for Nadal, but there he's gone through with a 6-6-3. Against Sinner, that was considered to be a little bit of a danger match, because Sinner's done so well recently, and he's had tough matches against Nadal in Rome and at the French Open last year. Sinner was the one who's pushed Nadal last year at the French Open the most. So that was a highly anticipated one. It was considered to be a dangerous match for Nadal. On the other hand, Sinner started well. He was going for his shots quite a lot. He was serving at 5-4 for the first set, but in the end he didn't convert. Nadal has come back, and even without going into tiebreak, he took it 7-5. No matter how inspirational or what's the right word for this, no matter how convincing Sinner might be on his shots on the forehand and on the backhand swing, no matter how well he hits it, he seems to be lacking a little bit the defensive skills on clay. So he's all out for attack, mostly. And I think that's a big disadvantage if you're playing Nadal. I think over time, Sinner will overcome these obstacles, and I think he will be beating almost everybody all the time. But as of now and as of yet, he wasn't ready for this. Nadal has shown that, especially in the next two sets. He was 4-love up actually in that second set. Sinner came back to 4-3, but after that Nadal has not lost one single game again in that match. So now coming to the match prior of the semis, the quarter against Schwartzman. So I think Nadal started off okay, and so was Schwartzman. He was playing well, but I had the impression that neither of them were really on top of their games. Nadal really went off the boil in the second. He started off a little bit badly. Schwartzman was up 3-love, then Nadal came back to 3-all. But in the end, Schwartzman was the stronger player in that second set. And I had the impression that Nadal was maybe... the effort was getting to him. His energy levels were not really up there as he would have wanted it to be. And Schwartzman was doing okay, and he took that second set. I think the most crucial moment of this match was the progression of the third set, especially the beginning of the third set, because Nadal was still not playing at his best. He was having somehow trouble finishing points where he normally, you would feel that he would be comfortable doing it, but this time he wasn't. But the key thing, what I'm trying to get at here was that he managed to hold serve. So he managed his service game so well, Nadal did. And for the entirety of the first 7 games in that second set, you definitely had the impression that Schwartzman was the better player. But at 4-all, like, Nadal's energy levels came back a little bit, and he had to go more for his shots, and at the time he started doing it, and the shots came off, and it paid off, and he felt like he was back in the game again. At that point, he really took control of the match. So he was 3-4 down in the second. He was serving, he got back to 4-all, he's broken, and then he's held serve. And then basically from 3-4 down in the third set, he has not lost a game against Schwartzman. So it's a little bit similar what he's done against Sinner. From 4-3 in the second set against Sinner, he has not lost a game, because he's taken the set 6-3, and then he went and has won 6-love. And the same here, it was 4-3, and then he won all of his next game. So he's won 9 games in a row. Against Sinner, he's won 8 games in a row. I've read somewhere that with this performance, Nadal has also beaten Jimmy Connors' record of winning sets to love, the so-called bagel. He has more bagels against players in Grand Slams than anybody else. Just a fun fact. Okay, now turning to the head-to-head against Nadal against Djokovic. So these guys have played 57 times against each other already. Djokovic leads 29 to 28. Nadal's won their last meeting, but that was also on clay in Rome just a few weeks ago in the final. So here you can have a look at the head-to-head. The first match they've played ever throughout their careers, that was 15 years ago in 2006 at the French Open, incidentally, and that was his quarterfinal. Then Nadal has won 6-4 and 6-4. Djokovic has picked up an injury and retired at the early stages of the third set. You can stop if you want to go through and read through all the matches, all the results. They have played so many times that I had to make here 3 screens, basically, just to fit all the matches in here. This is the most contested rivalry between 2 players in the Open era, so this is going to be the 58th match, chapter 58, and it still seems to be ongoing for quite some time. So God only knows when these guys are going to stop and not going to play against each other anymore. Okay, so some interesting stats I've put together here. I just started to try to focus more on clay court encounters because it's the French Open and they're going to play in the final. This is going to be they're going to be playing in the semi-final. This is going to be the 4th time that they're meeting in the semi-final at the French Open. So if you look here at the right side of the screen, you see, as I mentioned, first meeting 2006 at the French Open. It was the quarter when Djokovic had to retire. The second one was in the semis in 2007. It was a very good match. I remember I've seen that one, and the first set was spectacular, especially the first set. 2008 was the third one, also in the semis, and the first 2 sets were straightforward, and Nadal was a break-up in the third, but Djokovic has come back, but Nadal has won the tiebreak to 3 in that third set. So 4 years of break, not meeting at the French Open, but then in 2012 they met in the final. And that was the first final they've played. It was a rainy day. After the end of the third set, beginning of the fourth, they went off, finished the match. They've had to finish the match the Monday next. Whereas Nadal won 7-5. In 2013, they've met. This is probably the most epic French Open semi Nadal has ever played. He's won 9-7 in the 5th, so that was such a grueling and highly contested match. Djokovic is actually up a break in that 5th set, and Nadal somehow managed to get the break back and get the win at 9-7. And that was the time when Nadal had that layoff after the 2012 French Open, where he had serious knee problems, and he took the rest of the year off and came back only in February in 2013. He's played a lot of South American clay court tournaments to play himself back into form, and everybody thought, okay, this time he may not be ready to play Djokovic, and yeah, he almost wasn't, but in the end he was, and he's won the final that year against Federer as well, of course. So 2014, that was also a tough final for Nadal, for both guys actually. Djokovic started off really well, and this was the only time where Djokovic has managed to get the first set in a match against Nadal at the French Open. So this was very important, and Nadal somehow managed to get that win in the second set, and then in the third and the fourth he was more convincing. The only time Nadal has not beaten Djokovic at the French Open was in 2015, also in the quarterfinal stage. So just like in 2006 they played a quarter, it was the quarter in 2015 that was supposedly Nadal's worst year, and it was Djokovic's best year. It was a tightly contested first set. Djokovic was up 4-love. I remember that match, and Nadal came back to 4-all, but Djokovic won it 7-5, and the next two sets were not particularly competitive. And then again a long break for 5 years, and then they've met in the last year's final, which was completely dominated by Nadal. People were expecting Djokovic to maybe win it, or it should have been a close match, but it wasn't. So 6-love, 6-2, 7-5. Really convincing and dominant performance by Nadal in that final. So 1 year running ahead, and we are again in a French Open semi-final. So this is going to be the 4th time they meet in a semi. That stage is going to be the most prolific stage where these two meet, since it's going to be their 4th. As you can see, as I went through these meetings at the French Open, it was a total of 8 matches, and as you can see, Nadal has won 7 of those 8 matches. You see the color coding. 2015 was the year where Djokovic has managed to get that victory. All the others, that's Nadal's territory. So what I've also looked at is how many times they've met in a final on clay. The final is many times the most important stage. Not many times, it's always the most important stage of any tournament. And they've met 13 times in a final on clay, and out of those 9 have went Nadal's way and 4 Djokovic's way. So Djokovic has won 2 finals in Rome against Nadal, 1 in Madrid and 1 in Monte Carlo. Or was it 2 in Monte Carlo? Yeah, it was 2 in Monte Carlo, not in Madrid. If we go outside of clay and we take a look at total meetings overall in finals, they've met, out of these 58 matches, they've met 29 times in a final. And there Djokovic has an overall lead of 16-3. So that means Nadal has won 4 finals outside of clay against Djokovic. And total number of meetings in semi-finals on clay, it's 8. So they've met 8 times in a semi-final on clay, and here Nadal leads also 7 victories to 1. The only time Djokovic has won against Nadal in a semi-final was at the Monte Carlo Masters in 2015. Okay, so taking into consideration the long history these two have, they started at the very first match in 2006, early days in both of their careers, especially Djokovic's. 8 meetings at the French Open so far, that's incredible. This is going to be the 9th. Taking into consideration, everybody knows how well Nadal feels and plays at the French Open, at the Philippe Chatrier. This is really his domain, and he normally does this so well. He's shown that he's beaten Djokovic last year in conditions which normally should have favored Djokovic more, and he was so dominant. You could assume that this year again, I mean, this is really Nadal's domain, and he should be the one who wins. At the same time, Djokovic has won once against Nadal. Admittedly, that was not his best year, but nonetheless, he's done it. And he's beaten Nadal on clay in finals as well. It was 4 times, and he has a total of 7 victories. That's a number that nobody else has. And if somebody can beat Nadal, I think Djokovic is the one who can do it. I think he has even a better chance than Tsitsipas or Zverev. All of these guys do have a chance. They're in a semi-final of a Grand Slam at the French Open, so of course they can do it. It depends very much on the day how well Nadal is tuned. If he's on, like he was last year in the final against Djokovic, if he's so focused, if he's serve plus one, the domination starting with dominating with his first shot on the forehand, if that works, then it's going to be very difficult to stop him. At the same time, my feeling is that Djokovic has had to figure new things out since last year's meeting at the French Open, and he will be wanting to try new things and do something with which he can surprise Nadal. And he definitely has to be on his A game. Djokovic has to execute to perfection. If he does, I do think he has a chance to win. On the other hand, if again I have to make a pick, I would pick Nadal in 4 sets. That's my take. So I think we're going to have a Nadal Tsitsipas final. Okay, let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree with the assessment? Any comments, any thoughts are more than welcome. I hope you enjoy the semi-finals and see you in the next video.